let's go.
I hear you there. I think, and that we both have been in agreement on that. The minute that the season's focus changes, I think that this week they can still mask it one more week with the fact that you've got the divisional game, 2 divisional games. If nothing else, I agree. Listen, I'm with you guys. I see in the chat room, I'm not sitting here saying, hey, I'm being real, but I'm looking at it from where they're at too. And I just think that perhaps they may roll one more week with things as they are simply because they can look back to the last 2 times that they played Cincinnati, and one of them is less than a month ago. So I just think that, man, if they don't make the switch this week, I mean, what will it take at that point? And it really makes you wonder what other issues there are, and I'm getting a lot of comments here in the last couple of minutes just about the being late thing and people arguing the semantics of he's not late, he just doesn't choose to show up early. And again, I'm just saying that I am not saying that you got to kiss people's butts and do all of that stuff, but I know that when I'm trying to get a better time slot, when I'm trying to get more promotion for my show, I make sure that I'm very visible, I'm very accessible to my superiors. I make sure that I do a lot of things to help behoove the process of improving my current situation, and my man Manziel is not doing any of that.
Well, yeah, you're right. And there's 2 possible reasons that I can imagine for why Pettine hasn't decided to play Johnny Manziel and why he may not decide this week. The first is he does not think that Manziel gives him a better chance to win the game. And second of all, that he doesn't want to reward the kind of behavior and the kind of attitude that Manziel has displayed so far because of team morale issues and team unity issues and all the other things that he has to deal with a locker room full of football players. So, or it could be some combination of the 2. But, obviously those are the 2 big ones that you can see. I cannot in good conscience, start the guy who treats this profession like it's a hobby second to his partying. Now, that might be an exaggeration, but if there's even the perception that that's the case in the locker room, then rewarding that behavior sets all the wrong kinds of precedents and examples going forward. So I can easily see how it might be either one or the other or some combination.
Yeah, and I mean, that's all part of it, too. I'm very curious. What do you think? I mean, obviously the Browns are going to answer this question, whether it's this week, next week, whatever, as far as getting a look at him there. But I'm just curious. All of this stuff, everything here, that's this whole season-long process and why Johnny's not playing and all of that, I'm very curious how much, and I guess we won't know this now. We won't know this maybe for 6 months or a year or who knows, but I wonder how much of this plays into the Browns' mindset for the future. Throwing the F word out there. But I'm curious this season alone, the fact that it's been this long to get the kid out there and all of the things, you wonder, unless the talent, and this is where I go, man, they would have thrown him out there already, is so all world, which is where people are split in their opinions of it. If the Browns are going, you know what, even if this dude's okay, we're not going to deal with this either. I wonder if the Browns have maybe been bitten a bit by the snake that they chose to draft. They went to the pet store and bought that snake, that pet, whatever analogy you want to use. But I wonder if now they're not having a bit of buyer's remorse here in general, and we may go from having 2 quarterbacks potentially to having none, because I'm curious if their long-term view of Manziel has changed from all the behind-the-scenes stuff, not anything to do with just on the field.
Well, I think that's entirely possible. I really do. It's easy to see how the front office, and especially the front office with the Farmer and Haslam and Pettine and these guys, and disciplinarians and guys that are looking for the right kinds of people as well as the right kinds of players, might have become disheartened by what they've seen from Manziel, disappointed, surprised. Buyer's remorse is a very good word for what might be going on there. Maybe as people speculated on draft day, that this was a Jimmy Haslam move and not a Ray Farmer move. That scares me to even think that might be the case, but there's, I think, ample reason to think, to at least consider the possibility based on what we heard on and around draft day. So, yeah, it's possible that Ray Farmer and Mike Pettine are saying to Jimmy Haslam, okay, we'll handle the player selection from this point on, Jimmy. Thanks for your input last May. But so we don't know. But, yeah, could there be buyer's remorse? Absolutely.
Oh, Charles in the chat room. I don't always repeat many of the comments from there, but that one's priceless. I guess the homeless guy was homeless for a reason. Anyways,
right.
Yeah, the one that told him to draft Johnny. Maybe there's a reason that you found him under that bridge there, where Jimmy Haslam
maybe it has something to do with his judgment. You never know.
I'm just saying. I still want to know where Jimmy Haslam was. Billionaire Jimmy Haslam. Where was he? There, he ran into that homeless guy. Like, was dude
probably
outside the?
Probably sitting outside the Horseshoe Casino or somewhere.
Exactly.
Like
was he outside of that? What was it? The 9 or whatever Johnny's apartment building is, and I don't know.
And if he's outside the Horseshoe Casino, maybe he was, recently homeless. Maybe he just lost his home that afternoon. Who knows?
Wonder if he asked for a hug. I wonder if Jimmy gave the homeless guy a hug, because I know hugs is all a touchy issue around the Browns and stuff. But anyways, let me ask you. Looking at yesterday's game. And I want to ask you, too, LG mentioned it. Several other people have brought this up. What are your thoughts on the whole Josh Gordon thing? And not just as far as, is Josh Gordon being lazy? It's clear that we've seen, you go back and watch, it's easy to see when he goes half speed and when he doesn't run routes. But the point that just in general, you go back 4 weeks from now and you look at, yes, the offense was already slowly trending a bit that way, but the just discombobulation of what had been a decently functioning offense, at least, decently functioning, completely changes. How much of that do you think, how much truth, what we were talking about and just kind of bandering about the change in things and the dynamic? Because clearly it just went to a completely different page here whether it was adding just that element or timing that into some of the other things.
Boy, I don't know. I think, like you said, it's clear to see, and I turned to the guy next to me a couple times yesterday and said, man, Gordon is dogging it. Now, Gordon, when he's dogging it, is faster than most human beings, but still, it looked like he wasn't, I think he gives up on pass plays way too soon. I think he should trust his own athleticism a little bit more, and at least, even on the long pass, hey, man, it's the NFL, and it's a big play, and it's a close game. Lay out for the ball.
You were there.
I don't know if you don't want to hurt your elbow or something. I just believe he needs to show more effort, and I don't know about the injury situation, straddling the sideline that cost the Browns a timeout, but it looks to me like he's dogging it. It looks to me like he's walking through some things and not giving 100% effort, and that frankly ticks me off because the Browns have been totally in his corner and totally had his back through this whole process, and I think he owes the team and the fans more than that.
I agree. You had a bunch of guys that nobody gives any respect to, nobody's heard of, nobody's drafted, this, that, and the other thing, and they're out there, and I really do think that changed in that. And I wonder, like you brought up the one long pass. I'm not even talking about the thing at the end of the game. That was a tough catch. The one. Now, granted, Hoyer overthrew Gabriel by a first down. But I believe Gordon should have caught that one. That was where only Gordon could catch it. It was a yard or two ahead of him, and it looked like he slowed down instead of sped into it. To me, Gordon catches that and goes off to the races if he's trying.
Yeah, I think I've got to say the same. That was my observation. Now, I didn't have the stomach when I got home last night to watch the DVR of the game. I haven't watched it again. And frankly, Jerry, I came out of that game last night, and I don't know if you saw me tweeting afterwards. I having just seen the game live and not having watched the tape of it, so I had no benefit of the commentators' opinions. I really thought that even though Hoyer played terribly, even though everything else, and we had numerous chances to win that game, I really felt like after the game that the officials took it away from us.
Yeah.
I have believed, and it's been my theory for 10 years now, that the Browns at Cleveland Browns Stadium are still paying the price for the bottle game. We
I
cannot
saw
get
you
a call
tweet
on
that,
our home
yeah.
field. We just cannot. We don't even get treated this bad on the road. And I'm talking about the 2 pass interference calls, one that didn't get called on Hawkins on a crucial 3rd down that would have been a 1st down, where the DB's hanging all over his back when the ball gets there.
Practically tackled him. Practically tackled him on that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that wasn't the first non-call that we should have got. I don't recall the exact circumstances of the other 1 or 2, but we had a couple of those. And then they get the bogus 40-yard one on screen where he's got, less of an arm around the guy's waist and just really steadying himself on the receiver by touching him. They pick up a 30, 40-yard pass interference call on the crucial winning touchdown drive that wasn't near as bad as the one that we got a no call on. Those 2 calls, one going each way, and then the what I thought was a bogus call on Kruger. I talked to some people last night that said that the commentators on TV agreed that was probably the right call, that was a spearing or a targeting or whatever. I'd say crap. That's nonsense.
They
so I
tried
don't know
to
what the heck
explain.
he's supposed to do. He led with his forearm. It looked like to me.
They tried to explain that even if you lead with the shoulder, lead with the forearm, and go out of your way not to go helmet to helmet, even if you do all of that, if part of your helmet hits the part of the helmet, it's got to be called. And I'm like, look, there's letter of the law, and then there's intent of the law. And to me, that's like saying somebody hits me from behind and pushes me through the red light, and you're going to give me a ticket for running the red light. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not even that. You've got 2 human beings that are both in football uniforms that are both 6 foot, both 6 foot something tall.
It's
and
a train wreck.
Tell me that if those 2 men run into each other at high speeds, that their helmets aren't going to come in contact with each other. It's
how about
crazy
the targeting?
To think that they're not.
In the Buckeyes game, there was a very similar call on Cardale's scramble when dude got ejected because of the targeting call. When it looked to me like it was a block that ended up with the contact there, but I saw the guy lower his shoulder, and it appeared to me do everything he could do to just make it was nasty. Don't get me wrong, but that's what we do in football. We make hard blocks.
There was
another
another very similar play in the game last night, the Sunday night game. Where the guy clearly led with the shoulder, and he ended up being ejected. It was just ridiculous. Then they review those things, and I think they're just intimidated to overturn the initial call. Because again, it shows that judgment in the spur of the moment, and that they don't want to start setting that precedent for it. So it really does need to be looked at and have that rule, if nothing else, clarified and refined a little bit. So we're not, and all of those plays, Jerry, were possession plays. They were momentum-changing plays. On the call on Kruger was on a 3rd and 10 that ended up being the field goal that brought him to within 4 points. If I recall correctly, that was the field goal that made it a 21-17 game. Instead, if they don't get that, we've got the ball going the other way with a touchdown lead, and we're in decent shape. Actually, with an 11-point lead, I think.
Yeah.
So. And of course, the non-call on Hawkins was, 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 7 or whatever it was. In any event, I'm not blaming officiating for the game, but I can't stand losing to the white shirts or striped shirts. Even when all the other factors come into play about Hoyer's game and the missed field goal and the red zone interception and all kinds of ways that we could have and should have won that football game. To me, it sure felt like it was snatched from us by the officials.
And I agree. I hadn't even gotten to that because I knew that eventually you and I would get into this part of the game because I didn't want to come out right away and be that guy. Well, this is why we lost. That's why we lost. At the end of the day, they made one more play than we did, and that's how that goes. But I agree with you. If we're being honest, I mean, especially not even just the ones the other way against the Browns, but the one coming back for the Colts when you get that like you said with 35 yards, whatever that chunk was there. I mean, that eats up half of their drive. That's all the work done for you guys right there, And I'll tell you again, and then to say that last play. I mean, they just. Boom Heron made one. I'm telling you, it's because of the damn playoff thing. The Buckeyes were all fired up yesterday and had that little extra adrenaline because he got that extra push. I mean, that's where I'm sure you, I don't know, I think you were listening earlier in the show when I said that. I said, as great as that defense played, there's always another level to go to. And when you want to be that true